Hi everyone, welcome back. So till now in module always encrypted we saw the basics about always encrypted feature and what are the different encryption type and different encryption keys, and later we saw how we can encrypt the data and how encryption wizard help us to encrypting data in always encrypted. So in this video tutorial I am going to demonstrate how we will be encrypting data in always encrypted. So let's first drop an already existing database always encrypted if any, and let's create a new always encrypted database. So now let's create a table users with the column ID, username, email, first name, last name in the always encrypted demo database and populate users table with few rows. Now query users table. So we have 3 rows in the users table. So as I stated earlier in the always encrypted demo flow, that always encrypted feature uses two keys CEK and CMK. So SQL Server provides two views, column encryption keys and column master keys. So by querying them we can see the current keys. So currently we haven't did anything in always encrypted, so currently there are no row in these views. So let's start always encrypted process. Right click on the always encrypted database and select the task menu and further select the encrypt columns. This will launch the always encrypted wizard. Click on the next button. On the column selection screen we can select the column that we have to encrypt. So this will display all the columns in different tables. So currently in the database we have only users table. So let's suppose we want to encrypt the username, email and first name column. Note that we cannot encrypt the ID column as ID column is an identity column. So next we have to select the encryption type. As I said earlier, we have two encryption type, deterministic and randomized. So this is the time when we have to decide which encryption type we have to choose. So suppose if we know that we need to use the username column in the where clause, so we cannot use the randomized encryption, as in the randomized encryption the encrypted value will be different for each time. So we have to choose the deterministic encryption. And for the email column, if we just want to use in the select statement, we do not use in where clause, so we can choose the randomized encryption. Same for the first name column, we can choose the randomized encryption, and we do not applying any encryption on the last name column. So selection of the encryption type is completely based on the use cases. Next we have to select the encryption key. This encryption key is the column encryption key CEK. As we saw in the flow, CEK remains with the database. So when we click on the next, then SQL Server will ask to create the CMK. CMK is the column master key which will encrypt the CEK. So as we saw in our wizard that the CMK remains stored with the client, so we have two options to store the CMK. Either we can choose the Azure wallet or we can use the Windows certificate store. For this demo I am going to use the Windows certificate store. Click on next. Now here we have two options. Either we can choose the generate PowerShell option or we can proceed to finish now. When we do not want to execute the encryption process current or we want to run at later, then we can generate the PowerShell, but for this demo I am going to proceed with the finish now. Click on next. So on the summary tab we can see what are the steps that always encrypted wizard going to perform. So here we can see it will create a new master key with the name CMK auto 1, and then it will store the master key at the local certificate store, and it will create the new column encryption key CEK auto 1 and encrypt the username column with the CEK auto 1 and use the encryption type as deterministic, and for the email column it will use the encryption key as CEK auto 1 and use the randomized encryption, and for first name it will use the randomized encryption. Note, we can use the different column encryption keys for the different column, as if you go on the first screen, then so here we can see that we can select the different column encryption key if we want. So to keep simple, I am using single column encryption key to encrypt all the column. Click on the finish. So always encrypted wizard now start the encryption process. This will take some time depending upon the data on the database. Now click on the close. So our encryption process has completed. Now if we query the column encryption key and column master key views, then we can see that SQL Server has created the CEK auto 1 column encryption key and CMK auto 1 as the column master key, and the path of the column master key is on the local machine certificate store. So SQL Server do not have any direct access to the CMK. This will make the data more secure. Now we can see the created CMK auto 1 certificate on certificate store. So let's open the certificate manager. So on the certificate manager, on the personal category, click on the certification. So here we can see that a new certificate is created for the always encrypted auto certificate. If we double click on this, then we can see the further detail of this certificate. We can see the algorithm used and the certification path. Further, by querying sys.column view, we can see the encryption type and encryption algorithm applied on the columns. So now we can see our three column is encrypted: username, email and first name, and encryption type DSC column describes which encryption type is used. So let's query users table. Now we can see the data in the users table is encrypted. Note that the value of email and first name column is same in the first and third row, but the encrypted value of same is different as we were using the randomized encryption for these columns. So in this tutorial we saw how to encrypt the data using the always encrypted wizard. So let's see in next video how to query the encrypted data and how to work with the .NET client and always encrypted feature.